At an incident, a casualty isn't breathing. What should you do while helping them to start breathing again? Open their airway. Following a collision, a person has been injured. What would be a warning sign for shock? Rapid shallow breathing. You're the first person to arrive at an incident where people are badly injured. You've switched on your hazard warning lights and checked all engines are stopped. What else should you do? Make sure that an ambulance has been called. Which document may the police ask you to produce after you've been involved in a collision? Your driving license. You arrive at the scene of a motorcycle crash. No other vehicle is involved. The rider is unconscious and lying in the middle of the road. What's the first thing you should do at the scene? Warn other traffic. At an incident, how could you help a casualty who has stopped breathing? Follow the Dr. ABC code. You're going through a long tunnel. What will warn you of congestion or an incident ahead? Variable message signs. At an incident, a casualty is unconscious but breathing. When should you move them? When there's a risk of further danger. Which sign shows that a tanker is carrying dangerous goods? You arrive at the scene of a crash where someone is bleeding heavily from a wound in their arm. Nothing is embedded in the wound. What could you do to help? Apply pressure over the wound. You lose control of your car and damage a garden wall. What must you do if the property owner isn't available? Report the incident to the police within 24 hours. What should you do if a tire bursts while you're driving? Pull up slowly at the side of the road. Which lights should you use when you're driving in a tunnel? Dipped headlights. You arrive at the scene of a motorcycle crash. The rider is injured. When should their helmet be removed? Only when it's essential. Your car breaks down on a level crossing. What's the first thing you should do? Leave your vehicle and get everyone clear. At an incident, how could you help a small child who isn't breathing? Open their airway and begin CPR. You're at an incident. What could you do to help an unconscious casualty? Check that they're breathing normally. What should you do if your vehicle has a puncture on a motorway? Pull up on the hard shoulder or in an emergency refuge area and call for assistance. There's been a collision. A motorcyclist is lying injured and unconscious. Why should you only remove their helmet if it's essential? Removing it could make any injuries worse. A casualty isn't breathing normally and needs CPR. At what rate should you press down and release on the center of their chest? 120 times per minute. What should you do if you have to stop while you're going through a congested tunnel? Keep a safe distance from the vehicle in front. What should you do if an instrument panel warning light comes on while you're driving? Check out the problem quickly and safely. You're at the scene of an incident. How could you help someone who's suffering from shock? Reassure them confidently. At an incident, someone is unconscious and you want to help. What would be the first thing to check? Whether their airway is open. What should you do to reduce the risk of your vehicle catching fire? Check out any strong smell of fuel. What could you do to help injured people at an incident? Keep them warm and comfortable. An injured motorcyclist is lying unconscious in the road. The traffic has stopped and there's no further danger. What could you do to help? Seek medical assistance. You're driving on the motorway. What should you do if luggage falls from your vehicle? Stop at the next emergency telephone and report the incident. You've broken down on a two-way road. You have a warning triangle. At least how far from your vehicle should you place the warning triangle? 45 meters, 147 feet. A collision has just happened. An injured person is lying in a busy road. What's the first thing you should do? Warn other traffic. What information should you share if you're involved in a collision that causes damage to another vehicle? Your name, address and vehicle registration number. After a collision, someone is unconscious in their vehicle. When should you call the emergency services? As soon as possible. An injured person has been placed in the recovery position. They're unconscious but breathing normally. What else should be done? Check their airway remains open. What should you do first if your vehicle has broken down on an automatic railway level crossing? Get everyone out of the vehicle and clear of the crossing. What should you do if you see a large box fall from a lorry onto the motorway? Go to the next emergency telephone and report the hazard. What's the first thing you must do if you have a collision while you're driving your car? Stop at the scene of the incident. What should you do if your vehicle catches fire while you're driving through a tunnel? Drive it out of the tunnel if it's safe to do so. There's been a collision. How can you help a driver who's suffering from shock? Reassure them confidently. You're on a motorway. When can you use hazard warning lights? When you slow down quickly because of danger ahead. At an incident, it's important to look after any casualties. What should you do with them when the area is safe? Keep them where they are. An adult casualty isn't breathing. To maintain circulation, CPR should be given. What's the correct depth to press down on their chest? 5 to 6 centimeters. You arrive at an incident. A pedestrian is bleeding heavily from a leg wound. The leg isn't broken and there's nothing in the wound. How could you help? Apply firm pressure over the wound. What should you do if your vehicle breaks down in a tunnel? Switch on hazard warning lights, then go and call for help. What should you do before driving into a tunnel? Take off your sunglasses. You arrive at an incident. There's no danger from fire or further collisions and the emergency services have been called. What's your first priority when attending to an unconscious motorcyclist? Check whether they're breathing normally. When are you allowed to use hazard warning lights? When stopped and temporarily obstructing traffic. Your vehicle has stalled in the middle of a level crossing. What should you do if the warning bells start to ring while you're trying to restart the engine? Get out of the car and clear of the crossing.